Today, I've got 10 different categories of cozy books I want to share with you. These are books I think you will really enjoy reading this fall. I know I will. Hi, I'm Kim, and this is an oasis of books. And yes, I've got 10 categories. Let's see if I can remember them all without looking. We've got Sherlock Holmes-related mysteries. We have historical fiction, women's fiction, bookshop books. Then there's some childhood favorites, some middle grade books. And then we have classics, sci-fi, magical realism, and nature poetry. I can't believe I did it. All right, first up is Sherlock Holmes-related mysteries. Now, you might be wondering where are the cozy mysteries, but I'm going to do a whole separate video on cozy mysteries, okay? But I do have a few mysteries in today's video, and the first category, Sherlock Holmes-related mysteries, comes with Laurie King's Russell and Holmes mysteries. Technically, these are called the Mary Russell series. This is book number 1, Beekeeper's Apprentice, also known as the novel of suspense that introduced Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes. This was published in 1994, and I started collecting them when this came out. I love this series. And book 19 just came out in June. It's called The Knave of Diamonds. And, well, let's hear a little bit about this book, this first one. In 1915, long since retired from his observations of criminal humanity, Sherlock Holmes is engaged in a reclusive study of honeybee behavior on the Sussex Downs. Never did he think to meet an intellect to match his own, until his acquaintance with Miss Mary Russell, a very modern 15-year-old whose mental acuity is equaled only by her audacity, tenacity, and penchant for trousers and cloth caps. Under Holmes' tutelage, Russell hones her talent for deduction, disguises, and danger. Soon the two sleuths are on the trail of a murderer whose machinations scatter meaningless clues, but whose objective is quite unequivocal: to end Russell and Holmes' partnership and their lives. Now, this first book, as it said, starts in 1915. The second book picks up several years later, and it is in the future books that a romance of sorts develops between Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes. And so some people find that a little odd since she starts off so young, but you know, they did wait till she was a bit older before they started that. And this series is so well written, very smart, very suspenseful, and for me anyway, very cozy. The other Sherlock Holmes-related mystery series I have for you is written by Leonard Goldberg, and it is the daughter of Sherlock Holmes mystery series, which currently there are 7 books in this series. This one I haven't started yet, but I am very eager to do so and plan to get to it this month. In 1914, Joanna Blaylock's keen mind and incredible insight lead her to become a highly skilled nurse, one of the few professions that allow her to use her finely tuned brain. But when she and her 10-year-old son witness a man fall to his death, apparently by suicide, they're visited by the elderly Dr. John Watson and his charming, handsome son, Dr. John Watson Jr. Impressed by her forensic skills, they invite her to become the 3rd member of their investigative team. Caught up in a Holmesian mystery that spans from hidden treasure to the Second Afghan War of 1878 to 1880, Joanna and her companions must devise an ingenious plan to catch a murderer in the act while dodging familiar culprits, Scotland Yard, and members of the British aristocracy. Unbeknownst to her, Joanna harbors a mystery of her own, the product of a one-time assignation between the now dead Sherlock Holmes and Irene Adler, the only woman to ever outwit the famous detective. Joanna has unwittingly inherited her parents' deductive genius. Now that sounds like absolutely enthralling reading to me, so I can't wait to read this first one and let you know what I think of it. Next up, we have historical fiction, and I have 2 books to start us off by Diane Smith. First, we've got Letters from Yellowstone and also Pictures from an Expedition. These obviously are both about nature, about women naturalists, actually artists even. And I found this one so compelling. I spoke of it in a previous video. I will link down below in the description and at the end of this video. but I gave it 5 stars. It was so cozy and so interesting. Set in 1898, just after Yellowstone was made our first national park here in the US and actually in the world. And it is got a diverse cast of characters and all sorts of interesting descriptive writing. Just wonderful. As soon as I finished reading it, I looked to see if Diane Smith had written and published anything else. And yes, we have pictures from an expedition. This won the Montana Book Award, and it's set in the American West in 1876, so just over 2 decades earlier than Letters from Yellowstone. This tells of Eleanor Peterson, a scientific illustrator in her late 30s, and her mentor and friend Augustus Starwood, an aging portrait painter with a passion for Shakespeare. And they end up going to Montana to work on a dinosaur fossil dig. And this sounds absolutely amazing, so I can't wait to get into it. The next book I have for you in the historical fiction category is another series. It has 5 books in it, and I have been meaning to read this for a while because I've seen it talked about all over BookTube as a wonderful, cozy historical fiction read. And I'm hoping I'm going to love this series just as much as everyone else seems to love it. It's called the Cazalet Chronicles, and the first book is called The Light Years. This is written by Elizabeth Jane Howard. Now, if you've read this book in this series, let me know in the comments below and tell me what you thought of it. No spoilers though, of course, but from everything that I've heard, it's going to be just fascinating. Sounds like a lot of family drama. I haven't read a saga like this in a long time, so I'm looking forward to starting it. And the last in the historical fiction category of cozy books that I want to share with you is this one, We Hope for Better Things by Erin Bartels. When journalist Elizabeth Balsam is asked to deliver a box of old photos to a relative she didn't know she had, as she searches for answers to the riddles around her, the remarkable stories of 2 women who lived in this very house emerge as testaments to love, resilience, and courage in the face of war, racism, and misunderstanding. From the volatile streets of the 1960s to the Underground Railroad in Michigan during the Civil War, and uncover the past, confront the seeds of hatred, and discover where love goes to hide. Wow, that sounds really compelling. And I've had this on my shelf for a couple of years, and I think it's about time I read it. All right, the third category is women's fiction. Kind of vague, but I didn't know where else to put these books. I've got 3 of them for you. 2 are by the same author, an author I've never read before, but I can't wait to read now. And that is Minna van Praag. Now, this is her first book. I have it as an ebook, and it's called The House at the End of Hope Street. So as a debut, it was very successful. A magical debut. There is a bit of magic in it. Let me tell you about it. It says, distraught that her academic career has stalled, Alba is walking through her hometown of Cambridge, England, when she finds herself in front of a house she's never seen before, 11 Hope Street. A beautiful older woman named Peggy greets her and invites her to stay. On the house's usual conditions, she has 99 nights to turn her life around. With nothing left to lose, Alba takes a chance and moves in. She soon discovers this is no ordinary house, though. Past residents have included Virginia Woolf and Dorothy Parker, who, after receiving the assistance they needed, hung around to help the newcomers, literally in talking portraits on the wall. As she escapes into this new world, Alba begins a journey that will heal her wounds and maybe even save her life. That sounds whimsical and fun, doesn't it? As well as interesting. And then I found in physical form at my library, I was just browsing on the shelf and there it was. It's called The Lost Art of Letter Writing, also by Minna van Praag. So this one apparently is a bit different, but it does take place in Cambridge, England again. It says, in a forgotten nook of Cambridge stands a little shop. Thousands of sheets of beautiful paper and hundreds of exquisite pens await the next person who, with Clara Cohen's help, will express the love, despair, and desire they feel to correspondents alive, estranged, or deceased. Clara knows better than most the power a letter can have to turn a person's life around. So when she discovers a cache of her great-grandmother's wartime love letters, she follows the faint trail of a life lived and starts a profound journey of her own. So letter writing and a bit of magic sprinkled in again. I think that sounds like really appropriate for fall, don't you? And I love letter writing. I always have. And at times in my life, I've been very much into pen paling. In fact, I am going to be doing a video on cozy pen paling very soon. And this book seems kind of like the perfect thing to kick off this new or return to again phase in my life. All right, last book in the women's fiction category has to be a Mary Stewart. It is Rose Cottage. Now, this is the last book that Mary Stewart published in 1997. And while there is some suspense and some romance involved, it is nothing like her earlier books, which are super intensely suspenseful and with lots of danger lurking around every dark corner. In this last book of hers, things are much gentler and slower and softer. And I think, again, that sounds perfect for the fall. Now, if you, like me, think that a suspenseful mystery with a strong woman protagonist is cozy sometimes, depending on your mood, then definitely check out one of my other videos this month that I'm putting out about Mary Stewart and suspense in October. I'll link them down below and at the end of this video. On to category number 4, and that is Bookshop Books. I just had to add this category because, what is cozier than books and bookshops? 2 of the 5 books I'm going to share in this category are memoirs. So the first memoir is Once Upon a Tome by Oliver Darkshire, and the subtitle is The Misadventures of a Rare Bookseller. So when I first found this book, I didn't even realize it was a memoir. I thought it was fiction. And then I realized the name and I looked a little more carefully, and yeah, this is actually a wonderful memoir. Witty, whimsical, and smart, it says. Some years ago, Oliver Darkshire stepped into the hushed interior of Henry Sotheran Ltd., established 1761, to apply for a job. A novice in this ancient, potentially haunted establishment, Darkshire was soon unteetering stacks of first editions and placating the store's resident ghost, the late Mr. Sotheran, hit by a tram. As Darkshire gains confidence and experience, he describes Sotheran's brushes with history, Dickens, the Titanic, its joyous disorganization, its enchanting stories of rare volumes, and the unspoken rules of this gleefully old-fashioned profession. By turns unhinged and earnest, Once Upon a Tome is the colorful story of life in one of the world's oldest bookshops and a love letter to the benign, unruly world of antiquarian bookselling, where to be uncommon or strange is the best possible compliment. I kind of think that that's a compliment I would enjoy myself, being uncommon and strange. Yeah, I've always told my kids, weird is good. The next memoir is Diary of a Tuscan Bookshop. This one is written by Alba Donati and translated by Elena Palla. The back has an actual conversation listed between Alba and Romano Montroni, the founder of Italy's largest bookselling chain. Romano, I'd like to open a bookshop where I live. Right. How many people are we talking about? 180. Right. So if 180,000 people live there, then no, not 180,000, Romano, just 180. Alba, have you lost your mind? So this tells us a little bit, sparks our interest a little to read more. So it seems Alba Donati was leading a happy, hectic life, working with prominent international authors as a book publicist in Florence. But she was ready for a change. She decided to return to the Tuscan town she was born in to open a small bookshop in a rose-covered cottage. Catering to fewer than 200 year-round residents, the bookstore on the hill seemed unlikely to succeed, but Alba's romantic endeavor soon sparked the enthusiasm of book lovers across Italy, and the enchanting shop became a refuge for an ever-growing community of readers. Visitors now come from afar to browse, enjoy a cup of tea, and ask Alba to select the perfect book for them. Alba's lifelong love of literature shines through this unique and uplifting memoir. Formatted as diary entries with delightful lists of the books sold each day, Donati's account celebrates book lovers and booksellers, the unsung heroes of the literary world. So I have glanced through this book, and it does look entrancing, really. I love that she has listed each book sold on each day. Yeah, I'm really going to enjoy this one. Not too long, but look at that cover. I think it really shows what the book is all about. So what are the other 3 books in the Bookshop Cozies category? The first one is The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. This one says, on a quiet street in Dublin, Ireland, a lost bookshop is waiting to be found. For too long, Opaline, Martha, and Henry have been the side characters in their own lives. But when a vanishing bookshop casts its spell, a little magic maybe, these 3 unsuspecting strangers will discover that their own stories are every bit as extraordinary as the ones found in the pages of their beloved books. By unlocking the secrets of the shelves, they find themselves transported to a world of wonder where nothing is as it seems. Looks like I've picked several with magic, and that seems fitting because, fall, cozy, magic goes with that, right? Yes. So the next one in the bookshop category is The Bookshop at Water's End by Patty Callahan Henry. And this one sounds so good. Bonnie Blankenship's most treasured memories are of idyllic summers spent in Water's End, South Carolina with her best friend, Lainey McKay. Amid the sand dunes and oak trees draped with Spanish moss, they swam and wished for happy ever afters, then escaped to the local bookshop to read and whisper in the glorious cool silence. Until the night that changed everything, the night Lainey's mother disappeared. Now in her early 50s, Bonnie's desperate to clear her head after a tragic mistake threatens her career as an emergency room doctor, and her marriage crumbles around her. With her troubled teenage daughter Piper in tow, she goes back to the beloved river house where she is soon joined by Lainey and her 2 young children. During lazy summer days and magical nights, they reunite with bookshop owner Mimi, who is tangled with the past and its mysteries. As the 3 women cling to a fragile peace, buried secrets and long-ago loves return like the tide. That sounds wonderful. Lots of intrigue, lots of friendship, perfectly cozy. And the last bookshop cozy is The Department of Rare Books and Special Collections by Eva Jerzik. Something like that. Yes, this is another one I found while browsing my library shelves, and it sounds great, doesn't it, with this title? And when I delved a little deeper, yes, I decided I definitely need to read this one. What holds more secrets in the library, the ancient books shelved in the stacks or the people who preserve them? Liesl Weiss long ago learned to be content working behind the scenes in the distinguished rare books department of a large university, quietly managing details to make the head of the department look good. But when her boss has a stroke and she's left to run things, she discovers that the library's most prized manuscript is missing. Liesl tries to sound the alarm and inform the police about the missing priceless book, but she's told repeatedly to keep quiet, to keep the doors open, and keep the donors happy. As it becomes clear that someone in the department must be responsible for the theft. What Liesl discovers about the dusty manuscripts she's worked among for so long, and about the people who care for them and revered them, shakes the very foundation on which she's built her life. This is a sparkling debut novel about a woman struggling to step out from behind the shadows of powerful, unreliable men, and it reveals the dark edge of obsession running through the most devoted bookworms. Well, I admit, we are kind of obsessed, aren't we? I don't know what their obsession with books made them do in this book, but I admit I have done a thing or two that might raise some eyebrows when it comes to my obsession with books. How about you? The next category of cozy books is middle grade books. And don't you go away because these are fantastic series. I've got 3 of them for you. The first series is The Moonwind Mysteries. And I just read book number 1 last night, The Night Raven. This series is written by Johan Rundberg and it's translated from Swedish. So if I can find who the translator is, I'll put that on the screen here. It's set in Sweden in 1880 and features protagonist 12-year-old Mika. Now, Mika has been raised in an orphanage and has been given a lot of responsibility there. She is very mature for her age and has a great talent for observing and remembering details, which stand her in good stead, as it turns out, when mystery comes knocking. This book was shortlisted for the Global Literature and Libraries YA Translated Book Prize. It won Kirkus Best Book of the Year, was an USBY Outstanding International Book as well. After reading the first book, I can see why it's won these awards. It is in my opinion, wonderful middle grade book that appeals to all ages, really. It's 1880. In the frigid city of Stockholm, death lurks around every corner. 12-year-old Mika knows everyone in her orphanage will struggle to survive this winter, but at least the notorious serial killer, the Night Raven, is finally off the streets. Or is he? Mika is shocked when a newborn baby is left at the orphanage in the middle of the night by a boy with a cryptic message. When a detective shows up to investigate, Mika realizes something more sinister must be going on, and this is confirmed when the detective recruits her to help him once he notices how good she is with details. Mika knows that she should stay far away from this investigation, but with such little hope for her future, could this be an opportunity? Could it be her chance to be someone who matters? I really enjoyed my reading of this book, and I cannot wait to start book number 2. Probably going to do that late tonight. These books are short, just under 200 pages, and some might not call them cozy because they are bleak and violent in some ways, given the setting and what's going on. But in other ways, the hope that shines through these and the spirit of Mika, to me, does make them a pleasure to read and kind of cozy in a suspenseful way. The next middle grade series I have for you is a lot gentler and a lot more cozy, probably. It's called the Pumpkin Falls Mystery Series, and the first one is Absolutely Truly. The second book in this series is Yours Truly. The third, Really Truly. Yes, we've got a pattern going here. And book number 4 is actually the book that caught my eye originally, and the reason I started reading this series because the cover of it, as you'll see here, is got pumpkins all over it and sheep. And we love sheep around here. One of my daughters has 2 pet sheep, which I think they're like 8 years old now, Toffee and Coco. I'll put a picture of them here. So that book number 4, is called Truly, Madly, Sheeply. So yes, that is why I first got into this series by Heather Vogel Frederick. And book number 1, Absolutely Truly, what's it about? Truly Lovejoy's father has been injured by an IED in Afghanistan and is having trouble finding work back home. So the family moves from Texas to tiny Pumpkin Falls, New Hampshire to take over Lovejoy's Books, a struggling bookstore that's been in the family for 100 years. With 2 older brothers and 2 younger sisters clamoring for attention, her mother back in school, and everyone up to their eyebrows trying to keep Lovejoy's Books afloat, Truly feels more overlooked than usual. And so she pours herself into uncovering the mystery of an undelivered letter that she finds stuck in a valuable autographed first edition of Charlotte's Web, which subsequently goes missing from the bookshop. What's inside the envelope leads Truly and her newfound Pumpkin Falls friends on a madcap treasure hunt all around the town, chasing clues that could spell danger. So yes, this sounds like a more lighthearted middle grade mystery series, maybe one you want to read aloud to your kids, or just enjoy yourself when you're in the mood one fall evening with a warm cup of cocoa. And the last cozy series in the middle grade category I've got for you today is the Hero's Guide series. I absolutely loved this series. It's about time for me to reread it, I think. So I read this aloud to my youngest two kids a few years ago, maybe more like 7 or 8 years ago. And the first book is The Hero's Guide to Saving the Kingdom. This series was written by Christopher Healy, and it's a fractured fairy tale series. Hilarious. And yes, so cozy. Prince Liam, Prince Frederick, Prince Duncan, and Prince Gustav. You've never heard of them, have you? These are the princes who saved Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Snow White, and Rapunzel, respectively. And yet, thanks to those lousy bards who wrote the tales, you likely only know them as Prince Charming. But all of this is about to change. Rejected by their princesses and cast out of their castles, Liam, Frederick, Duncan, and Gustav stumble upon an evil plot that could endanger each of their kingdoms. Now it's up to them to triumph over their various shortcomings, take on trolls, bandits, dragons, witches, and other assorted terrors, and become the heroes that no one ever thought they could be. So, what I'm telling you about this series is, you have to read it. It's so good. It's so funny. The characterizations in this book are top-notch, really excellent. I have to say, off the top of my head, I can't think really of anyone who does characterizations better than Christopher Healy. And the humor is just nonstop. So if you're a fan of fairy tales or fractured fairy tales, this is one of the best out there, I guarantee. Go ahead and pick it up. And, the other two that come after it, Hero's Guide to Storming the Castle and The Hero's Guide to Being an Outlaw, they're just as good, if not better. And I don't want to forget to say the women in this series have equal billing, if not top billing. So just because I described the princes first, don't let that fool you. There's an incredible array of fantastic characters in this series, and perfect time to read it is this fall. Time for category number 6, and that is a couple of childhood favorites. And the first one is From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsberg. Now, this book was published a couple of years after I was born in 1967, and so when I read it, it was pretty new, and I loved it. It took me to a world I couldn't really imagine myself, because here I was in the countryside of Northern California, far, far from a big city, let alone the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So what's this book about? If you haven't read it, you definitely should. It is about Claudia and her brother. When Claudia decided to run away, she planned very carefully. She'd be gone just long enough to teach her parents a lesson in Claudia appreciation. And she would live in comfort at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, no less. She invited her brother Jamie to go too, mostly because he was a miser and he would have money. The two took up residence in the museum right on schedule, but once the fun of settling in was over, Claudia had two unexpected problems. One, she felt just the same, and she wanted to feel different. And two, she found a statue at the museum so beautiful she could not go home until she had discovered its maker, a question that baffled even the experts. The former owner of the statue was Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, and without her help, Claudia might never find a way to go home. Now, this book, short though it may be, has a very powerful impact, and many people I've found think of it as a childhood favorite. So you're basically required to read it so you can understand what everyone else is talking about. It's been several decades, and I still can't get out of my mind the picture, the thought of what it would be like to sleep in a famous person's bed in a museum at night when no one else is around. The other childhood favorite I have is Snow Treasure by Marie McSwagan. Now, this was written in 1942, and it is set in 1940 in Norway. Peter Lundstrom never thought he would become a hero, but that bleak winter of 1940 was like no other. Nazi troops parachuted into Peter's tiny village and held it captive. Nobody thought they could be defeated until Uncle Victor told Peter how the children of the village could fool the enemy. It was a dangerous plan. Peter and his friends had to slip past Nazi guards with $9 million in gold hidden on their sleds. It meant risking their country's treasure and their lives. So you see, this is a fictionalized account of a true story that Marie McSwagan tells us just 2 years after it had happened. And I think that makes it all the more vivid and realistic. And it's told so well. I think that you owe it to yourself to read this. And why is it cozy? Because it's about kids, their love of adventure, their boldness, and it has a happy ending. So there you go. So we're in the home stretch now. Category 7 is Cozy Classics. And I'll link above the video I did last year where I talked about, amongst many other books, some classics that I recommended. I know what 2 of them were. They were Jane Eyre and Little Women. I read both of these books in their condensed versions when I was just 8 years old. And they just won me over. I really identified with both Jo from Little Women and Jane from Jane Eyre. Then a couple of years later, when I was 10, I went to a large public library for the very first time and was thrilled to discover that both of these books actually had much thicker full-length editions available. I'd totally surprised by that and totally loved the complete versions of these 2 books. But today I want to recommend 2 other classics I have not yet read, but will be reading this autumn. The first is another Charlotte Bronte book, and that is Shirley. So the Shirley of this title is a woman of independent means. Her friend Caroline is not. Both struggle with what a woman's role is and can be. Their male counterparts, Louis, the powerless tutor, and Robert, his cloth manufacturing brother, also stand at odds to society's expectations. This novel is set in a period of social and political ferment, featuring class disenfranchisement, the drama of Luddite machine breaking, and the divisive effects of the Napoleonic Wars. But Charlotte Bronte's strength lies in exploring the hidden psychological drama of love, loss, and the quest for identity. Well, I love Jane Eyre. We'll see what I think of Shirley. Classic historical fiction, for me anyway, is always cozy in some way. Then the other classic I'm picking is Middlemarch by George Eliot, aka Marianne Evans. I have not read this yet. Can you believe it? I can barely believe it. I've wanted to read it for a long time. It is kind of chunky though, and I'm definitely going to start it now and hope to finish it by the end of the year, reading it, a little bit at a time, unless it captures me so much I can't put it down. Now, from what I've heard, most people who read Middlemarch really enjoy it. It sounds like it's going to be very cozy, a real intimate, complicated family saga tale. And that seems perfect for a chilly autumn evening read, doesn't it? Now, category number 8 in the cozy books I'm sharing is science fiction. I know in the past I have shared about Becky Chambers, who is the ultimate cozy sci-fi writer. If you haven't yet read her Wayfarer series, you owe it to yourself to read it. 4 books in the series, book number 1 being The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and just really all about found family, but in the setting of outer space. And just no one writes like Becky Chambers does. I know that in my last cozy video, I recommended her Monk and Robot duology. These are short novellas set in a post-apocalyptic world, and I absolutely love them. They're the ultimate in cozy, really, also because they feature traveling tea rooms. And I'm going to reread them this fall. But today, new sci-fi cozy recommendations for you I have are the very popular Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. I don't consider The Martian to be cozy. It is lacking a certain element that Project Hail Mary has, which I am not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil it. Project Hail Mary is full of humor, and it's very, very human, while also being alien. Yeah, you just have to read it. It is so much fun. And then my second sci-fi cozy recommendation is a series I just started reading recently. I read book number 1, which was All Systems Red in the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. Here I've got from the library book number 2, Artificial Conditions. Now, how is this cozy? Well, it's about a sentient AI, a security AI android who is working with humans out in space, and very much I feel like a developing found family. But also I just love the main character, the AI, who calls itself Murderbot, which doesn't sound cozy, but I think it is. It feels like it is to me. Just a wonderful little cozy series, and not too long, so you can read it pretty quickly. Now, in the past, I have recommended the Lady Astronaut series by Mary Robinette Kowal, which The Calculating Stars is book number 1 in that series. I love this series so much. It has 4.5 books. The half is a novella, which wraps up the series, really, as far as I know. And I loved that novella, 4.5, more than any of the other books, I think. I mean, except maybe book number 1. But I bring that to your attention, not just so you might want to go read the Lady Astronaut series, but so that you might want to check out this book, also by Mary Robinette Kowal. Now, this is the book I'm recommending in category number 9, Magical Realism. This is called Shades of Milk and Honey. Don't you love that cover? So this says, Shades of Milk and Honey is an intimate portrait of Jane Ellsworth, a woman ahead of her time in a world where the manipulation of glamour is considered an essential skill for a lady of quality. That's magic. But despite the prevalence of magic in everyday life, other aspects of Dorchester's society are not that different. The lives of Jane and her sister Melody still revolve around vying for the attentions of eligible men. Jane resists this fate, and rightly so. While her skill with glamour is remarkable, it is her sister who is fair of face, and therefore wins the lion's share of the attention. At the ripe old age of 28, Jane has resigned herself to being invisible forever. But when her family's honor is threatened, she finds she must push her skills to the limit in order to set things right. And in the process, she accidentally wanders into a love story of her own. It's the sort of tale we would expect from Jane Austen if she lived in a world where magic was real. So I have been holding on to this to read it this fall because it seems like just an ideal autumn cozy read. And I look forward to not only reading it, but sharing with you what I think of it. Have any of you out there read this series? Let me know if you have, or if you think it sounds like one that you want to add to your TBR list. So we're finally at the end. Category number 10 in my Cozy Books video is nature poetry. And today I'm sharing with you 2 children's illustrated poetry books. The first one is Robert Frost. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, this series of books, Poetry for Young People, is put out by Sterling Publishing Company, and it features many, many different poets. Today, I'm just sharing 2 of them. And this one was edited by Gary Schmidt and illustrated by Henry Sorensen. There is a short introduction at the beginning of each of these, which tells about the life of the poet in, 3 or 4 pages. Very interesting to read aloud to a young person, or if they're old enough, they can read it themselves. It's also very interesting to me. I love Sorensen's illustrations in this book. Look at this one for the poem October. Perfectly fitting, isn't it? O hushed October, morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call, tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October, morning mild, begin the hours of this day slow. Make the day seem to us less brief. Hearts not averse to being beguiled, beguile us in the way you know. Release one leaf at break of day. At noon release another leaf. One from our trees, one far away. Retard the sun with gentle mist. Enchant the land with amethyst. Slow, slow. For the grapes' sake, if they were all, whose leaves already are burnt with frost, whose clustered fruit must else be lost, For the grapes' sake along the wall. I love how Frost just speaks directly to October, begging it to go more slowly. That's what I want to do. I want to beg October to go by very, very slowly, don't you? And then we have Emily Dickinson. And if you followed my videos for a while, you know that I am currently reading all of Emily Dickinson's work and studying her biographies. I do love Emily Dickinson. This one is edited by Frances Schoonmaker Boleyn and illustrated by Chi Chung. Just look at this lovely illustration. I started early, took my dog, and visited the sea. The mermaids in the basement came out to look at me, and frigates in the upper floor extended hempen hands, presuming me to be a mouse aground upon the sands. But no man moved me till the tide went past my simple shoe, and past my apron and my belt, and past my bodice too, and made as he would eat me up, and wholly as a dew upon a dandelion sleeve. And then I started too, and he followed close behind. I felt his silver heel upon my ankle, then my shoes would overflow with pearl, until we met the solid town. No one he seemed to know, and bowing with a mighty look at me, the sea withdrew. I love Emily Dickinson's poetry, all of it really, and this book just does such justice to it, illustrating it so beautifully as it does. I think it's not just a fine book for children, but a wonderful book for us grown-ups too. I hope you've enjoyed this video talking about all these different cozy books. And if you have stuck around all the way to the end, I would love for you to share with me in the comments below, what are some of your favorite cozy books? I would love to get those recommendations and add some new books to my cozy autumn TBR pile. Now, I'm going to put out at least one more cozy fall book video, maybe even two. I know I'm putting out a cozy mysteries for the fall video, and I think I'm also doing a cozy food books for the fall, which, while it will include one cookbook, will actually have other types of food books too. So if that sounds interesting to you, then make sure you're subscribed and make sure you've hit the notification bell so you'll see when my new videos are posted. And until next time, I am wishing you all a lot of cozy, happy reading.